guys ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
We are. Are you ready?
Okay. Again, the brainscare from Blackwood Studios. We're going to be now presenting Nitros. General this game is survival or first-person view. It draws elements from fear, the rising comments. The look of small soldiers shocky, like that creep factor, having like this little toy showing you the atmosphere from fear, and hitting things with blown objects from the horizon. The three knowledge is survive and rescue. With that said, I'm going to pass it to Justin to expand that.
As far as gameplay goes, you start off in your room. You're the main character, Bobby. All the lights are out, but since Bobby's afraid of dark, he always has a flashlight next to his bed. He grabs the flashlight, quickly turns it on, looks around the room. There's not really much anything there except for some toys laying around. Hears a noise behind him, turns around quickly. Same thing, it's just toys laying there. All of a sudden he hears a noise right next to him, turns, and there's a toy attacking him. That's our whole premise of this game. There's toys that really only move in the dark, and but when they get close enough to you, they attack. So it's kind of a creepy, weird feeling. The enemies will react to the player's flashlight, and as you beat your way through enemies with a baseball bat, you find notes and clues from your sister. So you have to wonder, like, oh god, my sister's in trouble, I have to go rescue her. But then you just have, that's your main goal of the game, is to find and rescue your sister. The goal is to survive, figure out what happened to her, and defeat the enemies. As far as the theme goes, it takes place in a suburban house. The lights are all out, very creepy, scary style, similar to Fear. And Bobby's all alone, but he's gotten these notes from his sister, so he might not be. As far as the characters and enemies go, you got Bobby, his sister Chloe, then there's Bunny, Teddy, Clown, and Stitch Boss as far as the enemies go. They're all just in concept right now. There's a few concept art. And I'll hand it off to Sarah to talk about the level thing.
For the level, it's going to be basically one level. There's going to be Bobby's room, Chloe's room, and hallway, and then that leads up to the attic. Both of those rooms are going to be bedrooms, and of course an attic. That's basically the gist of it. The doors will be pretty much open by just trigger. They're not going to be really interactive. The feasibility for the assets. This game is pretty asset heavy because of the amount of stuff we need to have for the rooms. There's going to be a lot of statics in the rooms. I think we have physics on them or something.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
And we'll get to that later. But there's going to be a limited amount of enemies that we can encounter. We're going to try and make them different by switching up texture colors. And everything's going to be melee based pretty much to keep the animation simple as well. Pass it off to John.
Alright, so this game is going to be played in darkness, but you still have your flashlight. It's not going to be exactly like Doom 3 where you walk in the dark and only have your flashlight, you have to put it back in and then pull out your bat. He's a little bit more capable than that, and you had to bend reality just a little bit so you can have the flashlight and the bat at the same time. So it's going to have a lot of play with shadow and light. I've had some experience with that myself, so we'll be able to get this really nice feel. Now, one concern that came when we came up with this concept was the fact that because it's, even though it's a 3D game, you can't really tell when something is close enough to get hit. So the way we solved that was by when something gets close enough, the flashlight is going to have a little bit of different color on the enemy. So it'll be like your cue for you to be able to know that you can hit it. Now, technically, you'll be able to hit it before it gets that close, but for inexperienced player, that's going to be like a training wheel. Other features we're going to have there are possibly more enemies that we've came up with. We're going to have a level editor that's going to be pretty simple. It's going to be just building up the rooms themselves, and we'll be able to play statics in them through the editor. More levels. It's not exactly more levels. It's just adding more rooms and more content to the game because it's pretty small right now. But within the scope within the timeline that we have, this is what we could fit in our scope. The story is going to be pretty cinematic. It's going to be really creepy, and the twist where we've come up with a few twists to the story just to keep things interesting. I'll decide which one to go with. We might have unlockable weapons, and one of them is even a lightsaber that will replace the flashlight completely. Now the technology. This is going to be pretty intensive with shaders and lights in general. We've got some experience with that. We'll have to script a lot of events for the game because of how certain enemies behave. Aaron has something ready for that. The level editor could definitely improve the quality, and we might even be able to squeeze in more rooms more easily. Now, for how the physics come into play here, we want it so that when you hit any kind of stuffed animal or anything like that, they will actually get flung around the room and will land in a realistic fashion. We're definitely going to have some other debris, if you want, in the room, so when you move around the room, things will fall down and make noise, you'll be able to hear that. We haven't decided which API to use yet, but we're starting to look into Havoc and physics. I'll pass it on to Alex to talk about comfortability.
We aim this game towards 13 to 30-year-olds again. We don't want to aim it towards really young, because even if it is also because it's a survival horror game, even if it doesn't have horror or zombies or anything too graphic, you're still trying to cause fear into the heart of the player, and we kind of don't want to give a bunch of little kids nightmares. That's not nice. We also hope that the unique theme of the game, promoting the creepiness of little toys and the little squeaky things that you never really see, but you know it's there. And we hope that this would promote our game even more and keep it entertaining and keep the sense of fear in the atmosphere. And now, Anna will wrap it up.
Just to reiterate, atmosphere is something like fear, very creepy, very cute. At the same time, you want to look at that teddy bear and like, wow, teddy bear. But something like, that's what we said, small soldiers, shocky kind of move. And key features of the game will be the flashlight, the baseball bat, and to QA, just
I'd like to open the floor for any questions.